something completely unexpected is happening in the Mexican desert. Because growing in a remote part of this extremely hot, dry, harsh and sandy desert region, against all the odds, there is a thriving, lush, green forest. Thriving in a desert region that only receives 1.6 inches of rainfall a year, and where temperatures can be well over 30 degrees Celsius all year round. Which is why we have come all this way to find out how and why this unique and unusual forest is growing in the desert.
Hey guys, we're here in Baja, California, and today we're gonna go see something truly amazing. It's a forest growing in the desert.
This majestic African baobab tree is not growing where it normally does. In fact, it's set in a location where it shouldn't be growing at all, in the Mexican desert. Known as the Tree of Life, this endangered, highly symbolic tree is pretty rare in the first place. So why is it growing here, surrounded by a landscape of sand and cactus? Well, it turns out it was planted 26 years ago from seed by this woman, Ketsia Calmana, whose life's mission has been to create a forest with one of the most unique collections of trees in the world.
This is one of the oldest trees we have. It's about 25, 26 years old, Grandfather baobab. Connected to Mother Africa. These trees get to be huge. A whole community embraces a tree like this. It's fully edible. The leaves are edible. The seeds, the fruit, the flowers.
We traveled deep into the Mexican desert to see a forest similar to the ancient jungle forests of the Maya and the Amazon. On the way we passed by the official line of the Tropic of Cancer, where we stopped to have a look. The Tropic of Cancer runs through some of the hottest and driest deserts in the world. When we arrived, Ketsia met us outside her new restaurant, before taking us on a tour around the property to show us some of the incredible trees she's growing there. Explain how it was even possible to grow a forest in the desert in the first place. Ketsia is part of a new movement gaining popularity around the world for growing and restoring forests. The world has lost more than 1/3 of its forests, with half of this loss occurring in the last century. Removing the forests cuts off the water cycle in a region, drying up rivers and streams, stopping the rain, which leads to drought and extreme temperatures, completely changing the climate. Wildlife is decimated, and the land becomes a barren desert, which is why people around the world are growing forests to reverse these trends. And because Ketsia's forest is at the same latitude as the Sahara, Arabian and Indian deserts, she is a leading example of how to grow forests in the hottest deserts in the world.
What's happening in places like in the Amazon, where they're cutting the forest, and now there is drought and heat and extreme temperatures. Instead of that, here you have a microclimate. Places like this make the water available. The roots that tap into the water table bring the water up. And this is what's happening to this area.
Ketsia is a landscaper and gardener who makes school gardens and community gardens with indigenous communities in Ecuador and Mexico. And in 1998, she started planting seeds to grow a forest in the Mexican desert with her late husband, Gabriel Howarth, pioneer of the organic food movement and native seed conservationist. The forest is called Buena Fortuna Gardens. It's 11 acres in size. It's located in La Viveria in Baja, California, and is part of the Sonoran Desert, where it doesn't rain for 315 days of the year. The forest has a unique collection of extraordinary trees and plants from all over the world.
These are jujubes. Jujube is known as the tree of immortality. That's an African sausage tree. That's a medicinal plant against rheumatism. Yeah, there's the pods, so you have to ferment it and cook it. This is an ayuardia. I have a whole collection of ayuardias. We have some of the varieties that are from Australia, some from Madagascar. So it's very easy to reproduce by cuttings. So a little piece of that, you can make a new plant from a small piece. This is a ceibo tree. It's a sacred tree for the Mayan people. It's the tree of life, they call it. It fell down in one of the hurricanes, but now it's making its own forest. Oh, look at its branches. They get to be over 200 foot high. And as they go up, also the roots can go, 200 foot in the ground. And the nuts are edible, the seed, tiny. And the leaves, all of those leaves are edible. There's food, that's why it's a food forest. There's a lot of edible leaves here.
One of the most remarkable things about this forest is its huge variety of fruit trees. There's an assortment of tropical fruits and citrus fruits from all over the world. Some you will know, and many you've probably never heard of. It was designed by Ketsia and Gabriel, so there is always several fruits to harvest all year round. This type of planting is known as a food forest. A food forest, also called a forest garden, is a diverse planting of edible plants that attempts to mimic the ecosystems and patterns found in nature. And because they have so many permanent plants growing together naturalistically, over time the soil becomes extremely fertile. In this experiment, you can see that the soil from a forest is far more fertile than the soil in an average farm, for example, which means that in a food forest, the yields are higher and the food they produce is much healthier for us, because the healthier soil improves and increases the quality and amount of nutrients, vitamins and minerals in the fruits.
This food forest is pretty much 100% useful.
It's been recently proven that the areas of wilderness with jungles and forests that scientists once thought were simply wild and uninhabited, like the Amazon and areas of the Maya biosphere in Mexico, Guatemala and Belize, because of the high density of useful plants, were actually highly cultivated and managed by humans, who were using the trees and plants to survive, because so many of the trees and plants growing in what we thought were wild jungles were and still are used by people in those regions for food, medicine and construction.
We have over 3,000 plant species, like 2,500 of them are edible, medicinal and useful plants. We have plants to make textiles, plants for colors, or even construction. And so here's an area that is wild, like naturally wild, like we haven't done anything here.
The forest also hugely benefits wildlife by providing much needed habitat and food sources, because Ketsia designed the forest to be a wildlife reserve and combined her tree planting with untouched natural areas.
We have foxes, we have raccoons, and on this area in particular, I've seen the lynx. There's it's not huge, it's a little bigger than a cat, than a regular cat, but that's kind of like his territory here. I will show you one of my favorite places. These are roots of a vine. This is nature. Connect with the roots. We have a lot of native plants because it's important to maintain the native, and whatever we bring in that is from other parts of the world is in such a way that is like harmonic to the natives.
But what are the dangers of introducing potentially invasive species into this very specific desert ecosystem?
Here are neems. These are baby neems. I have to pay attention to those. As much as they are good for organic agriculture, they can be an invasive species.
Ketsia is very informed and diligent about all of the plants they're cultivating and how different species affect the environment and where and how they are grown and managed.
Everything depends where you're growing the things. What's an invasive species is a plant that grows way too good and it becomes territorial, and it grows so many seeds that it wants to take over. But it's about the management of the plant and also having the consciousness and the responsibility of the plants that you are introducing to an area.
So how has it been possible to grow a forest of tropical trees from all over the world in one of the hottest and driest deserts in Mexico? But it comes down to the geography of this fascinating place. The forest is located in Baja California, the very long peninsula on Mexico's west coast. Although the landscape is mostly desert, running through the center of the peninsula is a unique mountain range called the Sierra de Laguna. The height of these mountains means the temperature is a lot cooler, and it supports completely different ecosystems, made up of pine forests and native oak trees, when the coastal regions can be hot and dry. In contrast, the mountains can be covered in rain clouds. The severe climate in Baja also entails an extreme hurricane season, and between June and October each year, severe storms rage in from the Pacific Ocean, which drench the Sierra de Laguna mountain range in a deluge of torrential rain that then floods down its huge seasonal riverbeds. Therefore, due to these mountains and the hurricane season, there is a surprisingly good supply of water. There are lakes, rivers that run all year, springs, and an abundance of groundwater stored in the aquifers deep underground. So in a handful of spots around the peninsula, mostly along its seasonal riverbeds, it's possible to access water all year round by digging wells.
So everything has drip irrigation. The water comes in every other day. The main artery brings water to every single part of the gardens. Obviously, the baobab with the little line of one dripper is not enough. But when you look at a tree that size, he's already tapping into the water table. It's the small plants that need the initial tending.
This is the forest farming area, where Ketsia produces a wide range of herbs and vegetables.
I mean, the soil here is really not that rich, but it has some organic material, but it's very sandy. So we put compost to it. Then I also plant cover crops in the season, like green manure crops.
Next to the farm has to be the largest composting area we have ever seen. One of the advantages of having so many trees is the endless supply of organic material, like leaves and branches, it produces for composting, which helps enormously to fertilize this sandy soil. Ketsia is a wealth of knowledge about everything to do with trees and plants, from how to grow them to all the different things you can use them for, including when to harvest them and their medicinal properties.
The best time to harvest your herbs
is early in the morning, because as soon as the sun touches the plants,
then all the oils become available. You know, all the nutrients are up. And then as the day progresses and the sun continues to touch the plants, there is evaporation of the oils. And then, like, if you harvest this in the evening, it's obviously not gonna be the same quality that if you do it at 8 or 9 a.m.
The future of the forest is in good hands. This is Quetzal, Ketsia's 17-year-old son. Having grown up in the forest his parents were creating, he has a wealth of knowledge and experience that's very rare for someone his age. If you want to see more of the forest and Quetzal, and meet some of the rest of Ketsia's family, watch our other video we made here. Thanks for watching.